What's going on, guys? It's Bengals here to give you my power rankings following the conclusion of Week 2 in the NFL. And I made a power rankings before the season started, but that wasn't really a power rankings. It was more of how I thought the teams were going to end up being at the end of the season record-wise and where they would end up in the playoff setting and who I thought my Super Bowl champions were going to be. This is my true, real power rankings, my feel for how the teams are doing as of Week 2. And let's dive right into it. This is down in the description box below. Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns at 0-2 going up against the Ravens this past week, losing 25-20. They put up a pretty good fight. They scored a lot of points in the first half. Josh McCown came out, throwing to Corey Coleman, was able to throw some to Gary Barnidge, get Gary Barnidge more involved. But at the end of the day, this is just a bad football team. I think it is a better football team without Robert Griffin III. I think their offense meshes a little bit better with Josh McCown. But there's only so much that Hugh Jackson can do with the talent that he has on defense. And so that's why they've dropped down a spot after going 0-2. Now, the Miami Dolphins, I had them as the third worst team. They dropped down to number 31. I mean, their offense is just stagnant. I mean, the only reason they put up 24 points on the Patriots is because Jimmy Garoppolo went down, so they started playing bend don't break after they had a pretty substantial lead. The defense looked okay in week 1, and then they came out laid an egg against the Patriots. And so I have a lot of questions about this defense. I don't know how long Ryan Tannehill is going to last in Miami. But let's go to number 30, the Los Angeles Rams, dropping 4 spots. I thought this defense was going to be a little bit better than it has been, even though they did hold Seattle to 3 points. I just don't trust their offense. I mean, they can't get Todd Gurley going because there's absolutely no passing threat. I don't believe in this lateral system that they have going with Tavon Austin. There's just no dangerous weapons, or there's just no danger to this offense, and that's why I have them dropping 4 spots. To number 29, the 49ers, I had them as the worst team in the NFL. They go up 3 spots to number 29. That's just because Chip Kelly is getting this offense going. I mean, they put up 27 against the Panthers, even though their defense laid an egg after shutting out the Rams the week before. But they're just a little bit better of a team than I thought. I thought they had the least amount of talent, but now that I'm watching the Rams, I feel like the Rams seem to have the least amount of talent. The only talent they really have on offense is Todd Gurley. Number 28, the Lions. Still not very high on the Lions. They go up 1 spot just because they won a game, honestly, upsetting the Indianapolis Colts. But then they came out and lost to the Titans, gave up their lead to the Titans in the fourth quarter. And it just was a bad look. And let's go on to the Titans. At number 27, they go up 1 spot just because they beat the Lions. Marcus Mariota showed me that he can pull off a fourth quarter comeback, and that's why they go up 1 spot. Still a pretty bad football team, especially after week 1. To number 26, the New Orleans Saints. Really disappointing me. Not necessarily just because they have been losing. They lost to a good football team in the final quarter to the Oakland Raiders. We'll get to them pretty soon. And then you talk about losing to the Giants, only being able to put up 13 points, a team that's going to rely on their offense. They go to New York, and they only score 13 points. But the New York Giants defense is really impressing me so far. But come on, Drew Brees has got to put up more than 13 points with that bad of a defense. So they dropped 6 spots. I had them going 7-9 this season, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I think they're going to upset some pretty big teams, but I don't know if 7-9 is going to happen after what I've been seeing. Number 25, the Buffalo Bills. I was really high on the Buffalo Bills at the beginning of the season. Then all the injuries happened and yada, yada, yada. But now, with the offensive coordinator getting fired, because they just cannot move the football. I mean, they scored 31 against the Jets, but a lot of that was defensively, and it just seems they couldn't move I mean, they had a bunch of big plays by Tyrod Taylor, but they just could not move the football, and that's why that offensive coordinator got fired, and especially with all the defensive injuries and suspensions. You got to be able to put up points, and I don't see the Bills being able to play defense or play very good offense for that matter. That's why they dropped 6. I'm even lower than I was prior to the beginning of the season. Number 24, the Falcons drop a spot about where I had them. Just not a big fan of their defense, not a big fan of Matt Ryan, but they did beat a decent football team in the Oakland Raiders, and that's why they didn't drop more spots. after that week 1 loss. Number 23, the Buccaneers drop a spot. I thought they were going to go to Arizona and really compete, but Jameis Winston, too many turnovers. Defense did not show up whatsoever, but they lost to a good football team in the Arizona Cardinals. That's why I only dropped them down 1 spot. The Chicago Bears dropping 9 spots. Now, I did originally have them, I believe, at 13. I think it was 13. Because I thought their defense was going to be very good. I thought their offense was going to be serviceable. But with the loss of Pernell McPhee, I don't know. This defense is meshing pretty well, but Jay Cutler put him in a lot of bad spots last night against the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jay Cutler, I don't believe for a second that he hurt his hand. I think he left the game because he's throwing interceptions and fumbling the football. And I don't know. The Bears are stuck with him. I feel bad for the Chicago Bears, a very storied franchise, and they're not going to go anywhere as long as Jay Cutler is in Chicago. Now, let's go to... We probably got to start going pretty quick. Number 21, the Redskins, huge disappointment, dropped 10 spots as of what I thought they were going to be by season's end. They can't play defense. One of the worst defenses in the NFL so far this year. One of the worst offenses in the NFL so far this year. Kirk Cousins is moving the football, not putting up points, turning the ball over. They should have beat the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys don't have a pass rush. They don't have a secondary. We'll get to the Cowboys soon because it's a very interesting football team. But he had every chance to beat the Dallas Cowboys, and he did not. In week 1, of course, they lost. So at 0-2, they dropped 10 spots because they just do not look competitive whatsoever. Number 20, the Colts dropped 4 spots. Disappointing loss to the Lions in a shootout. I told you their defense was going to suck. Matthew Stafford was able to put up a lot of points, and even Trevor Siemian was able to put up a lot of points against the Indianapolis Colts this past week. Never was high on the Colts, but they dropped 4 spots because they lost 2 games, albeit to a good football team in the Broncos, but not so much of a good team in the Detroit Lions. Now let's go to number 19, the Dallas Cowboys. I don't say a lot of good things about the Dallas Cowboys because there hasn't been a lot of good things to say about them, in my opinion. But as of the first 2 games, they go up 6 spots because I think there's just a weird football team. Dak Prescott looks serviceable. I think people are overhyping him a little too bit. He takes care of the football and he moves the football. Not a big playmaker. We'll get to the Eagles with Carson Wentz, who is a big playmaker and can also take care of the football. But Ezekiel Elliott's been a little bit disappointing. He is moving the football, but he's nothing close to a 4th round talent or a 4th overall pick talent to me so far. But I think that'll develop, especially when he meshes with this offensive line. They beat the reigning NFC East champions in the Redskins, and they were able to play enough defense and enough offense to win this game. It's weird. This defense has almost no talent on it whatsoever, and they are able to play this bend, don't break style. Teams are able to move the ball against them, but for some reason they just cannot score. And so that's why I have the Dallas Cowboys going up 6 spots. Tony Romo isn't even there. And they're winning. They won a football game against the reigning NFC East champions. So I have a little more faith in the Cowboys than I did at the beginning of the season. But that's about it. Let's go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Man, big loss to the Chargers. The Chargers kicked their ass up and down the football field from the beginning of the football game. But they had a big week 1 victory against the Packers, so that's why I had them staying the same. The Chargers at number 17 absolutely killing the Jaguars. We can clearly see that the Chargers can play offense even without Keenan Allen. That's why I have them going up 7 spots. Their defense is a lot more serviceable than I thought they would be. And Phillip Rivers is balling. That's what Phillip Rivers does, and Melvin Gordon has actually showed up this season. Let's go to the Giants, number 16. I do have them dropping a spot, even though they've won their first 2 games. I know that's kind of, contradictive. But their defense has looked really good. Their free agent signings are really paying off, especially that secondary. I think the secondary by the end of the season is going to be one of the best in the NFL. But what they've lost on gained on defense, they've lost on offense. They're not able to run the football. Eli Manning is only able to dink and dunk, it seems. And they're not able to put up points, even against the Saints defense, even against the Cowboys defense, who's in shambles but still playing pretty well. The Giants have got to be able to score points in the future. Philadelphia Eagles at number 15. Now, Carson Wentz is surprising me a lot because if any of you have watched my videos, I wasn't a huge fan of Carson Wentz as a prospect. Mostly because I feel like he was a red shirt type of prospect coming from a small school. Um, he skipped D1 speed and going straight to NFL speed, so I thought it would take a little while for him to process. But I mean, he looks like a veteran. I mean, he looks like a guy that's been calling an offense like this for years, and I guess that's what he was doing at North Dakota State. I mean, the guy calling audibles just about every play, reading the blitzes, reading the coverages. He looks great. He's a great leader. And I think the difference between him and Dak Prescott in this division is he's able to make those, or not that Dak isn't able, but he's willing to make those big plays, even though Jordan Matthews can't stop dropping footballs. To the New York Jets at number 14, they go up 3 spots. I think that's just because I'm surprised how well the offense is meshing. I mean, Matt Forte, a great goal line back, great every down back. Ryan Fitzpatrick able to still mesh with Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall. And it was good to see Brandon Marshall tough out that injury against the Buffalo Bills on Thursday Night Football. Number 13, the Ravens really surprised me, up 7 spots. I mean, they beat the Browns this past week, but whatever. But their defense has really showed up, and their offense has also showed up quite a bit. Joe Flacco able to score enough points to beat these teams, and I thought this was going to be a very mediocre team, and I think they deserve to be in that above average echelon, and that's why they're at number 12. Number 11, the Chiefs, falling 4 spots. They played a tough team, my Houston Texans this past week. Had a very tough time pass blocking. They were able to run the football, but they were not able to throw the football whatsoever, it seemed. And the Chiefs, their defense is just a little disappointing to me, and their offense is also disappointing. Even though Jamal Charles is hurt, putting up only 12 and losing the game to a low-scoring team like the Houston Texans was a little bit of a disappointment. So I'm not as high on the Kansas City Chiefs as I was before. The Bengals go down 2 spots just because I thought they were going to kind of contend with the Steelers, but it seemed watching the game, even though it was in the rain, the Steelers did look like the dominant team, even though they only won by 8 points. But the Steelers just looked like a better football team just watching the football game. Seattle Seahawks, another disappointing team, dropped 4 spots, losing to the LA Rams. I don't know what it is with them and losing to the Los Angeles/St. Louis Rams. I don't understand. Rams are a horrible football team, and I think you have to drop the Seahawks down 4 spots when losing to a team that bad. The way that they lost, only putting up 3 points against them, even though their defensive line is good, that's about it for the Rams defense. And going up to the Vikings at number 8. They go up 4 spots. I told you guys, this team is not going to skip much of a beat with Sam Bradford at quarterback, and I think them beating the Packers, I mean, before I said that the loss of Teddy Bridgewater was only about a game, and that was because I thought they would get swept by the Green Bay Packers. So now that they've beaten the Green Bay Packers, I think that they may be able to go 10-6 like I originally thought instead of 9-7. Especially with the way Sam Bradford meshed with Stephon Diggs, that looks like a very dangerous combination, even though Adrian Peterson is now down. Not like he's done anything so far this season. Anyways, Green Bay Packers at number 7, dropping 6 spots. I mean, I thought the return of Jordy Nelson and the return of Eddie Lacy not being, fat would mean that the Packers would go back to being that dominant offense, that huge intimidation factor of playing the Packers offense with Aaron Rodgers. But their offensive woes are continuing through this season. I mean, they played a tough defense in the Vikings at home in their new stadium. I mean, that stadium was popping and bumping. I don't think they're going to lose to them when they host the Vikings. But man, I thought Packers are my Super Bowl team, and I'm starting to doubt that the way that their offense has been performing. Let's go to the Denver Broncos at number 6. A big surprise to me. Trevor Siemian is actually a pretty serviceable quarterback. They're able to run the ball with C.J. Anderson and Devontae Booker, and their defense hasn't skipped a beat, man. I mean, they beat the Indianapolis Colts, by beating up on Andrew Luck and covering these receivers and doing what they do best and playing, in-your-face defense. And that's what I really like about the Broncos. I'm glad the Texans are modeling themselves after the Broncos. And let's get to those Houston Texans, number 5, where I think they deservingly belong. They beat the Chicago Bears at the beginning of the season, Not a huge win, but they came out, beat the Chiefs, a team that they have trouble beating, especially last postseason. They got their ass whipped by the Chiefs, and I think they showed that they are now the better football team. Even though the Chiefs don't have Jamal Charles, I really don't see how Jamal Charles would have made a big difference because their running backs put up big numbers against the Texans. But the Texans were able to get to the quarterback, have been able to get to the quarterback, and now they're able to turn the football over, and that's why I have the Texans as the 5th best team in the NFL right now. Now, the Carolina Panthers at number 4, even though they lost to a tough team in the Denver Broncos, the team they lost to in the Super Bowl Week 1, they bounced back against the San Francisco 49ers and absolutely pummeled them into the ground like they're supposed to and show that they are still the dominant Panthers that they are. Now, Cam Newton, this is my knock on Cam Newton. This is why I don't think Cam Newton is an elite quarterback yet. He played the Denver Broncos, was pretty average against them, and then he came to a pretty bad team in the San Francisco 49ers and pummeled them. I mean, that's what he did last year. He beat up on all the bad defenses and wasn't very good against the good defenses at the beginning of his MVP season. So he still has a lot to prove to me in terms of being an elite quarterback, but this is still a very good football team and a Super Bowl contender nonetheless. Arizona Cardinals, number 3, stay the same. You know, even though they lost to the New England Patriots, they really should have won that football game. Their kicker missed a field goal. If the kicker would have made that field goal, they would be, undefeated right now. They came out, beat the Buccaneers, a pretty damn dangerous football team, and beat them into the ground, and that's what they're supposed to do. That's why the Cardinals are still the number 3 best team. Patriots move up 4 spots to number 2. This may change because Jacoby Brissett is now their quarterback, and they will probably lose their next game to the Houston Texans, even though they're hosting it in Foxborough. It's going to be a tough game. They're playing a tough defense, a young and now fast offense and dangerous offense. So we're going to see how Bill Belichick responds without Tom Brady and without Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think this team earned the right to be a top 2 team in the NFL because the way they've been playing defense and the way they've continued to play very good offense without Tom Brady. And at number 1, those Pittsburgh Steelers go up from number 2 to number 1. Just watching them game to game, they're the best team in the NFL. I mean, they came out week 1 and absolutely destroyed the Washington Redskins. And then they come out week 2, beat their division rival who's going to be chasing their divisional crown, and beat the Bengals 16-24 in the rain without really the services of Antonio Brown because of the rain, even though he got a lot of targets. It's just crazy how well they're able to run the ball even without Le'Veon Bell. Not going to sneeze at D'Angelo Williams because D'Angelo Williams is a very good running back to have, especially a backup running back. But when Le'Veon Bell comes back, it's going to be scary, guys. It's going to be scary to see this two-headed monster behind that pretty damn good offensive line, especially, and then with AB, Marcus Wheaton. I mean, just imagine if they had Martavis Bryant. Oh my goodness. I mean, this defense is playing pretty well. A lot of people knock this defense, especially the secondary, but man, they're playing pretty damn well. So yes, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers as the best team in the NFL right now. I think if you put them up against anybody anywhere right now, they would be my favorites to win, and that's why I have them at number 1. So tell me what you guys think down below. Give the video a thumbs up. I really love talking to you guys in the comments. And most importantly, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.